Eu diria que o país está exatamente no momento de transformação e crescimento. Há vários segmentos atrativos, né? O Brasil é extremamente competitivo na parte de agricultura e pecuária, mas eu diria que hoje há uma certa efervescência em setores de inovação. A gente observa um ecossistema, uma comunidade de venture capital, de fintechs, né? De investimentos em startups e em vários segmentos bastante ativo, que o ambiente para investimento em empresas nascentes, com foco em tecnologia, com foco em disrupção, com foco em modernização de padrões de negócios e de processos, é bastante intenso. A oportunidade é grande no Brasil para isso. O que nós observamos é praticamente todos os fundos de venture capital com alguma presença internacional estão aqui, de alguma maneira.
Hey everybody, thank you for waiting along with us this morning. It's live, right? Hey, so we got to make moves as we can. Don't forget, we have got a really good show coming up today. We're going to be talking to the CEO of nTokens, Tomas. They've got a stablecoin on the Stellar network. We're going to learn a little bit more about that and how it can have a real positive impact in the country of Brazil. Don't forget, however, tomorrow we have Carmela Cadet with MTech. And just today, as a matter of fact, she just announced that she is going to be working, her and her company, with the Central Bank of Ghana. So, man, perfect timing. It's going to be a great week. But for now, let's go ahead and bring on to the live show Tomas. How are you, my friend?
How are you, Sam? Happy to be here.
Hey, man, we finally made it, right? So, man, as I started off talking, I showed a little video of Brazil, and it is definitely almost a tale of two countries. On one end, I've heard many reports that said that if Brazil were able to fully develop, that they could rival the countries of Japan, UK, possibly even some other heavy powers. But there's a lot that's been going on, and I definitely look forward to, diving deep into that. So let's first start off with you, though, and let's talk about your background and your life prior to getting into blockchain.
Sure. Well, my whole career was on financial markets, on traditional financial markets, working as a broker, as a trader, and for banks. That was mostly covering international markets. And by international, I mean cross markets, US, New York mainly, Brazil, and the UK markets. And that was in the early 2000s and late 90s. And back then, what happened was that I saw and was active part of the electronic trading starting business.
Okay.
So at first, and in cross-border markets, you understand that there's lots of arbitrage. Okay.
Right.
So at first, what happens is that some early forms of electronic trading was being adopted by the market. And that was even before a fixed protocol. It was mainly being able to handle manually electronic trading. And this was a big thing that was happening over the first decade of 2000 at least. Okay. And in that, we started to getting much more electronic data or digital data on the markets.
Okay.
One of the first applications we had to data was on risk analysis and data science in terms of economic prospect. Now, when you get electronic trading together with econometric and statistical analysis of data, you start moving into things that got really the market moving back then, which was combining those you start algo trading, you start statistical arbitrage, high frequency trading, AI, deep learning techniques applied to trading. All those things that now are mainstream on the market. But that adoption was not without hurdles. Now we talk about those things as very naturally, and we don't think that markets would happen without them. But back then, we saw very difficult adoption case, because if you remember, back then, but market making or liquidity providing was something that should be done by specialists on the floor, never by high frequency trading.
Right.
And international trading should be done by firms that have presence in more than one market. And I mean presence, I mean offices and that kind of thing. And even things like electronic trading at first were not looked at as a positive thing. Was looking like, okay, we have outcry market, that's the real market, that's where the
Right.
information happens, and that's, eye to eye feeling, all those things. And that's not, I'm not talking about people in the market that were not open to change. Also, I'm talking about regulation that for that was built in the 80s. So of course a regulation built in the 80s or 60s, and that's in most countries is, it's there's discrepancies, but back then they said, no, wait, it's not how we don't know how to treat electronic order. What are you talking about, electronic order? What are you talking about? Those machines that send and cancel orders. And at some point, regulations would see, okay, look, where you used to have a voice confirmation, and that's maybe recorded on a recorded phone, if that's good enough, okay, maybe we could have an EC on fixed protocol, or similar electronic confirmation. And this is something that, in good practice, you can establish the idea of the regulation. So things like, okay, you must have money laundering protection, you must have prevention against crime financing and things like that. And that background kind of starts showing me that I was more and more seeing the similar effect happening with crypto and blockchain technology applied to trade, in the sense that it is a evolution. Okay, it is a way of trading and moving, settling and moving values that is more efficient, it is faster, it is more data rich. But at the same time, it's a way that regulation was not specifically or literally set to meet or to understand.
Right.
But just like what we had before, if you get good market practice, so you should respect the investors when it's investment. You should have all the transparency. You should get governance. You should, of course, have AML, KYC in place, and you should not allow for wash trades or trades that are financing crime or things like that, or not putting correct prices in the market. And a series of other market practices that are totally not only possible, but potentially improved with crypto trading. And it's only that there's not enough history or trading parts back then, a few years ago. Now it's much more evolved. There were not enough trading parts actually be working into that, in order to get the regulators the comfort they need, in order to get the participants. They're not, just now we're still talking about custodian as a business is starting to get more active. This is space about how to treat market data, there's several things that are still getting together. But the idea that all this background that on my career showed me that when I started looking at in more care with blockchain in general and Bitcoin and Ethereum, and for that I have a huge debt with my co-founder Rodrigo Batista, who was also we met in financial markets. He had a brilliant career in financial market, but he left. Let's say not left, but he moved to set a Bitcoin exchange in 2013, so much earlier than my involvement. And by doing that, he was very successful. From 2013 to 2017 or 18, when he exited, he made he was the CEO, controller, and chairman of what became the largest crypto exchange in Latin America. So he was very good at that, and it was great.
And I gotta
to have
say,
a friend.
listen, man. And one thing I have to say is that I'm excited to know that people like yourselves that have this trading background, a brokerage background, a securities background, are this active on the Stellar network. So I mean, it's exciting to know your background in that regards.
But it's kind of there's no way that you should ignore it, especially
Right.
when you talk about Stellar. And I guess we're talking a lot about Stellar.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little about Stellar.
But
Shout out to
there's
Ernie,
a
man. Yeah,
technology.
putting the rockets out.
No, but the technology is so great. It's when you have a trading background, and what traders want is, how can I get my trades out there very fast? How can I get that very safely? How can I get all the confirmation and all the possible data that I can gather of my trading status, my balances, all that in an integrated form? And how can speed up and facilitate all the back office, let's say, the traditional back office or middle office, which is the settlement, the clearing. How can I get it done in the best way? Guess what? On Stellar, all those things, they happen in like 5 seconds. And
Right.
and pretty much, I wouldn't say free, but mostly free. It's or shared cost by the network. So this is something that is no way out. But as I was saying, from the financial markets to crypto, it went kind of a continuation. I don't see as a disruptive move. It's kind of okay. What's the next trend? What's going? It was always, where is technology driving the market? And it's not the only market. It's not the only way to see the market. There's lots of other things happening. But the way I had my career was always where technology is leading, and technology is driving the market to enjoy the benefits of crypto, no doubt.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting. It seems like we've got a lot of folks out there in the comment section, curious about a couple different things. And I was actually going to go back into the talk about, Brazil and how your token is going to be used and help to bring stability. We've got one viewer, Shroti. I don't want to mispronounce your name, but Shroti, how you doing? Thanks for joining in. To what extent do you think people on the ground consider crypto as a political tool to disentangle themselves from U.S. monetary policies? And I guess I would add that more, maybe even to a broader discussion of how, having a stable coin, how that affects and empowers the citizens by themselves.
Sure. Well, thanks for the question. It's a very interesting topic. Of course, it's when talk about Latin America and specifically South America, and the relation to U.S. monetary policy, there's several different aspects to it. If you get, for instance, things in Venezuela, okay, which they're having a hard time for their own historical and political reasons, but when I mean hard time is a monetary hard time, right. Inflation, and as someone who grew up in Brazil, I know what's hyperinflation. I know what's things getting 10% more expensive from one day to the other, and it's kind of crazy actually.
Yeah. Man.
But in that sense, for Venezuela, it may be the case that exposure to stable coins and crypto could be liberating, but getting more engaged to U.S. monetary policy, which may have its issues, but compared to a hyperinflation situation where you pay things by weighting the amounts of paper in bills, and you have several different exchange rates. The official exchange rate is just for the government, things like that. In that sense, it may be a liberating movement if they would simply use, I don't know, USDC or USD on Stellar, for instance. It could be because at the same time they are big exporters of oil. So
Right.
US, the dollar as the money that fools
The petrodollar. Right.
The petrodollar, it is a driving of the economy. Now you have, for instance, a different scenario in Argentina, where they're not in the same situation in Venezuela, but also they have a tradition to run to have deposits in dollar and to be able to hold their finance in U.S. banks and not only U.S. but outside banks. So this is a different move there. Now, yes, there is some on disentangling from U.S. monetary policy. I'm not sure exactly what's the take there's many takes we can get. One thing that I would love to see is more integration within Latin America and South America. If you get, for instance, there's lots of trade and potential even more trade.
Wait, time out. Hold on. I gotta give you a hand clap on that one. That'll be great. I like that. Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be great.
Because it's if you see even as tourists, Brazil, Peru, Colombia, Argentina, Chile, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, Venezuela with their own set of issues, but all those countries, they have lots to trade among themselves.
A lot of resources.
We do trade a lot among ourselves. We do travel a lot within Latin America, not only for tourism but for business as well. And still, it's not that easy to convert from real to soles to pesos to it's not an easy. There's high spreads. It's not very efficient, and even as a tourist experience, very often you end up handling dollars, and that I have nothing against handling dollars, but when you're talking about countries that are not within themselves using US dollars, of course it adds cost, it adds friction. So in the sense, I believe that this is something that I would love to see more, a down-to-earth brick-and-mortar economies integrating.
Yeah, I remember talking with Truist over at Yohoro Wallet over in Africa. And, he was telling me the same exact thing. He said that just going from country to country within Africa, you have to go from, your native to US dollar and then transfer back over. And so it ends up costing you an arm and a leg. Before we move on, there was another question. Shout out to Diego. Where you from, Diego? Let us know. Diego was curious about usual, I guess, costs that are usually incurred by these market makers. You were talking a lot about trading earlier on in the trading market. Is there? I don't know if you have an answer to that, but it kind of varies.
It's a very broad answer because, there's market making in currency, in stocks, in ADRs, in futures, so it's hard to say. But it is fair enough to say that the costs are being considerably driving down, and in terms of fees and exchange, that's kind of the general trend, I would say. But that's a very open-ended question, so it's hard.
Nice. And he's from Venezuela, man. So, shout out to everybody in Venezuela. Thank you for tuning in. This is what this was all about. I love it. Let's go back and dive into the N token. Tell us about it. Where did the idea start, and what are some of the main features, buddy?
Well, as I said, we started seeing that financial markets could be using a better technology.
Right.
And that said, we say, okay, let's what's really this? There's let's see, let's go and tokenize the world. Let's put everything, all the economy in tokens, and that'll be fine. It's much better. First, it's not that easy to tokenize the world, to say the
Darn.
least. Yeah, for some good reasons in terms of what are we really tokenizing? Is it securities? Is it futures, derivatives? There's different rules for each of those in several markets, but that search, and we went to try to is it worth setting business in Malta, in the UK, in the US, in the Netherlands? So that was very intense, let's say, trying to fit. But one thing that in every perspective we had, we thought that was missing was that for the time being, at least the foreseeable future, assets are being priced in national currencies. Okay, assets are not being priced in Ethereum or Bitcoin, at least not the majority of the economic indexes and real life assets. And second, it is hard to get bank money to settle crypto trading. It's not an obvious. It's not as good as it is to go crypto against crypto.
Right.
So that ended up showing us that one thing that is a real pain. It's a real block into this tokenize the world movement, and at the same time touches the idea that it can be more flexible, it can be more fair access. Is that and one important thing? It's not a security, it's not a derivative, so it's
Right.
something that regulations are not, if you do the correct way, are not being offended by that. Are stablecoins.
Okay.
And back then we had no stablecoins in Brazil, and we said, well, look, this is something that we know it's necessary for all the future tokenized future we see possible. We know it's something that for the very basic, whatever thing that is built on top, we'll be able to use that.
Right.
So that's how we said, okay, like nTokens, the name it shows, right? But then we said, okay, first thing we tokenize is money.
That's right.
Is how
And we're gonna showcase a demo,
Oh,
because yeah, Thomas, he's not playing around. This is all real. This is live, and so we're gonna show you guys how easy it is to go from the Stellar Dex directly into a bank account. That's right. Definitely speeds up the integration process. So how is custody handled? Talk about that. How do you guys handle custody? Because obviously with a stable coin, it's gotta be what? Stable. So how do you guys handle that custody, baby?
right. Well, first it is custody in the bank system. So it's in a bank that is regulated by a central bank. There's rules on electronic money. There's rules. There's not a license per se, but there's very clear rules on how you do that. Among those rules, which is very comfortable that those rules are exactly what we thought about, was that it has to be 100% backed by cash deposits.
That's right. Okay.
So this all every single BRL that is minted or issued in the network is backed by a real deposited in an account, and this account is not on nTokens is not the beneficiary of the account. It's like an escrow account,
Okay.
which can only be used to settle uh, uh, withdrawals. It can only be
Okay.
used to settle burns of the token. I cannot instruct anything on the account that's different from that. So basically, it is protected, segregated account with all the assets. We are working to get towards a more transparent way of showing that. It has some quid pro quo in terms of we can't get too much transparency as giving an open API to the world, because then we would put the assets eventually more at risk in terms of hacking and those things. But at the same time, if we decided to hid the value completely, it would be counterproductive because it doesn't have the value. It's not helping everyone that uses. So the way we're doing is we're increasingly with security providing more transparency on that. We're now being revising a prospect of getting it audited with frequency. It's
Right.
more like auditing the process, because the balance itself we plan to give it live. So it's more like auditing that. Yeah, by the next few months, every single moment they said, and it showed there that that was the amount of the balance, it actually was verifiable that that was the balance. And also verify that, yes, they say it's a secure account, not as beneficiary. Yeah, that's correct, because we have checked with the bank. But so we're getting there. So the custody is the tricky part. Now, one of the important part also is stability. So the way we do it for now is we're allowing for some accredited partners that and why accredited? Because moving money in and out of this secure account is something that we have to be very careful with. We don't want this to be, just very many people having access to that, even to deposit, because that could be, you know, uh, at the moment we don't think it's good. It's not going to be worth the extra amount exposure. But those accredited traders, they can swap real fiat for real on Stellar, let's say, in a
Okay.
clear way. So what they do is make sure that that movement is very smooth. So getting real from fiat to Stellar and vice versa should be smooth. And we have some platforms that are making the accreditation and making it possible, so that individuals can have access to this market. And our approach for now is to build a more B2B business.
So that's your primary target right now. It's more like a B2B business.
Yes, it is. It is a B2B, because we believe that, well, also in terms of market share, is good, because the more platforms that are using the real, the more value it gets to every BRL holder, right? And platforms, they are very good because they have some either specific or broader but genuine use for that programmable money. So if you're talking about a wallet that facilitates holding assets on Stellar Network, if you're talking about micropayments, if you're talking about crypto payment that people want to receive because they're pricing in real, those things are services that we're not ourselves designing all those different marketplaces. And but at the same time, there are people who are doing a great job designing those marketplaces, but lack the final cross between crypto market and the real fiat real capability in the banks.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. No, I mean I think that's good. One of the things talking about business to business was that just what it was just maybe a month ago there was an announcement of a partnership between nTokens and CoinQuest. Yeah,
CoinQuest, right?
CoinQuest.
They're great.
Yeah. I had a chance to chat with them. Um, gosh, several months ago. Really excited about what they're doing. Tell us a little bit about this, because as the announcement says, it's going to allow Brazilian-based merchants to accept payments in BTC, ETH, and XLM and other major cryptocurrencies or stablecoins. How excited were you guys to make this connection?
No, we're very excited. For us, they are a great partner. They deliver. It's always very good talking to them in terms of they're looking forward to do great new things, and they actually can do that, and they deliver whatever they say they promise they will be doing next week. Before next week, it's ready. So this is always a good experience with them.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Well, sometimes you can get surprised, but in this case, it was everything was great, and I think that besides the good things about them as a team and as their goals and their value, is that they are actually dealing with problems that people can face, especially small business in Brazil, especially when we're talking about, there's a community of small coffee producers in the countryside in Brazil, and they're trying to sell small packets of their own special coffee production, and especially because, like maybe wine, you have the terroir, they can be very fancy coffees in terms of,
I need to get some.
be very specific, but it's hard for them because, especially because it is so specific of that area, they don't get scale to do a major marketplace or to really place their offer there. And having as a community, they're not even formally, they don't even meet formally all the necessary or the requisites to be at major supermarkets or major distributors, right? But at the same time, there's too much loss in terms of they make this very special coffee, but they're too small to really sell it. So they have to either sell it as a commodity coffee, which is fine, but it loses value there, or sell to several intermediaries to be able to do that. And they were looking for ways to put a hub and receive. And they would say, okay, why don't I receive in Bitcoin, Ethereum, XOM, whatever?
Right.
But they're not able to do that. And they were one case that they are integrating with CoinQuest. And with that, people will be able to you will be able, when you visit Brazil, will be able to get right there. You don't need to take all the bus and take all the way to the countryside to take that special coffee, and not in 60 kilos bag. You can have 1 kilo. So there's a real case, and for all the good reasons. Of course, before we were talking about traders, arbitrage, but now we can see that this is something that really help the people that are making simply a good job for the world. They're making a better coffee in a more environmental friendly way. They're doing they're not getting too many intermediaries to get the value for those who are really involved in the community. So this is one example that CoinQuest addresses perfectly, and we're very happy to be part of that.
Yeah, I love it. One of my favorite artists, rest in peace, was Nipsey Hussle. And his slogan was always to skip the middleman. And so, it's definitely, what excites me a lot about Stellar, because it opens up these opportunities to skip the middleman. And, and when I hear stories of individuals like that in a small village that's able to make money from the resources that they have right there, that excites me, because you know what happens, right? If they don't do it, somebody else comes in from another country or some other town, someone is richer, and they take all of it. So I really like what you guys are doing there. That is exciting. That is exciting.
Right. Yeah, so those are things that we see, and now we see, for instance, fintechs will be able to have a more programmable services, and not only because of what we're doing, but also because of the changes that we see in Brazil in terms of instant payments that are happening in Brazil. Connecting the two things makes a big shift. For instance, in terms of people who have unbanked people in Brazil. Okay, you have tens of millions of people who have no access to bank account. It's sadly, it's very often, even in places in cities like São Paulo, which are a big metropolis, that if a contractor, say a plumber, goes to your house, and in the end, instead want to have to pay for the service, and we're talking values, I don't know, something like from $10 to $100, something like that. He gives you a piece of paper with his mother-in-law bank account or something like that. And then you see, I mean, it's fine, but it's not really fine that someone who's actually working, and we're not talking about any illegal dealing. He's really working to sustain his family, and he's doing a service for you, and he cannot receive that. He cannot, and that brings a whole set of difficulties. He's out of the financial system. Being out of the financial system, he has no credit, and those people maybe are those who need credit most. Who need credit for education, and then getting a more cheap way to meet the demand from those kind of service. There's a platform we're working on, which focuses exactly on the gig economy.
Nice.
In order to do it more to give services to them and be able to receive.
That's good, man.
Even more directly, and hold those financial profits of their work, and not only that, but also helps much for the people who are paying for the service, because on the gig economy, we also should consider that those who are paying for the service has a little less, in a good way to see that you can charge afterwards. So if you actually send money to his mother-in-law, how can afterwards you track and you don't take that service at the same level when you're actually paying him, unfortunately. So this is something that fintechs using crypto and programmable money, I believe we'll be also tackling something that is very in Brazil and many other countries, but in Brazil I can confirm that it's a very pervasive problem, which is how can the gig economy becomes a way to empower those workers. The gig economy is not the most well-paid professions, right? So this is something that we're also proud of being able to.
No, I think that's great. I'm looking forward to that, man. I'm looking forward to that. I'm loving what you're doing, especially, this is where you're from, and for you to go out and use your talents and connections to really, help the people from where you're from, man. It's inspiring. It really is inspiring because, we talked about earlier about Brazil, the potential, and before we got on, we talked about the crime rate. People don't want to do crime, man. People don't want to do crime. What they want to do is live. And so, whenever we talk about humanitarian issues, I always scream, we got to talk about economic opportunities. We got to talk about financial inclusion. We got to talk about that, because if we can create avenues for people to eat, gig economies, building their own businesses, if we can create these sort of platforms, it changes. I'm from an area where there was a lot of crime. I didn't think I was gonna, even get it this far. But as I learned and as I was able to expand and figure out ways as an entrepreneur to make my own paths, that's when, everything changed. That's when everything changed.
And you have good stories like that. It's something that if you're completely out of the system, you don't even have the opportunity. You don't have
Right.
to get a shot and say, I can do a good job.
Correct.
I'm serious and I'm a good professional. Well, if you're out of the system, it's and sure it's something that we still face crime problems in Brazil, as it's sad we have to say, and yes, getting more opportunity to people is something that surely can help that.
Man, this is a great quote. They want to survive. Actually, they want to flourish. But when that is not an
Right.
option, they accept survival. Man, I'm gonna make that a T-shirt. That's the truth. I mean, that's the truth. Is that and the thing is that if you're not from those environments, if you've never been put in that situation, you don't know what that means. And so it's hard for you to educate or even make policies when you've never been there. This is great, man. I'm really loving what you're talking about. Diego out in Venezuela, he said, "How are you guys dealing with the off ramp in Brazil?" Well, guess what, Diego? We're gonna show you. Are you ready? You want to go ahead and show the demo
Well,
of?
we can do that. I have to say that the off ramp, I'm not 100% sure I'll be able to say, because I would have to share my bank.
Nah. Yeah, we listen, Diego. We
So
ain't
the
gonna show
off
you the bank
ramp,
account. Yeah,
the off
Diego. We're not
ramp,
gonna show you the bank account, but you can do it. We can do it.
yeah. Well, the on ramp though,
Yeah,
I
we'll
it would
show
be
you
my
that.
pleasure to okay, let's do
Yeah,
that. Well,
yeah.
I'll for to do that, I'll use a Lobster, which is a Stellar wallet. It's not. We have no commercial relations, so I'm just saying that I like the way it works. But anyway, this
Yeah,
is
so this is so
let
lobster
me look
lobster
at
real quick, guys, is a decentralized exchange front for Stellar, owned by Lobster. They're also behind Stellar X as well, Stellar
right.
Term. So definitely a great wallet. They have a nice app on Android and on iPhone, by the way. I actually use this app as well. So
Oh, so
just a little
well,
background.
right. Okay, so in here, well, this is a new. This account is already happened. We can see here there's 7 lumens and 1 real. What I'll do, I'll deposit some real here. Okay,
Okay.
so we go to assets, and if I get some mistake, it's because it's not such a pro. And Brazilian real, you can see that there's Brazilian real buying tokens, and then here it's deposit. In my case, I've done deposit before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
All right.
so in my, do you see the new screen? Yeah.
Yep. And
So
tokens. Yep.
it's not necessary, but if it was the first time, I would have to put some personal information like the name, the tax ID, which is something that everyone knows kind of by heart in Brazil, and birth date. And the email, which is already, because I'm on Lobster, they have my email. Okay.
Okay.
And that being said, I'll place 40 real. All right. Okay, this is the information that I'll use now in a separate screen here. You won't see, but I'll use in a separate screen to send an instant payment from my bank in Brazil. All right. Just bear with me for a second. Oh,
Nah,
maybe
go ahead.
call the
Let me start.
commercials. Call the
Yeah,
commercials.
hold on.
Now it's the Super Bowl happening now. It's
Yeah, there we go. We don't want to. We don't want to show the bags, the real bags. We're gonna go ahead and cut to the next screen. I got you, man.
yeah.
Don't
Let's
worry.
see here.
Let
Okay.
me know when you're ready, man. I'll bring you back on.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's
okay.
but
So
for
right
everyone,
now,
everybody that to know. I mean, this is all happening live on the Stellar Network. This is the great thing
yes,
about it that
you can
it's
check on Stellar that you can check on that
yeah.
on if you search for Real on Stellar,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that you could definitely see that happening. What will happen is that there should be a transfer of 40 real to my account here, right? Let me
Okay.
see which. Oh, there you
Did
go,
you?
41.
You want me to switch over? I'll switch over. Hold on.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. Oh, and there you
Okay.
go. There was one in the last screen. That was
Now there's 41.
41. There you go.
Yeah, and you can see here if that's the transactions, you would be able to see the transaction. You could be able to get this hash, go online on Stellar Expert or some other block explorers, and I mean this is oh no, this is the $1. Okay, wait, this is the 40 real that came here. It was not as a transfer. That first real was before, but if you go to I'm not showing that now, or am I? Just a second. If you go to what happens on the Real page, for instance, okay, let me get it back. Let me see if I see this Star Expert screen.
Oh, okay. You on Stellar Expert screen? Hold on 1 second.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. So if you see here payments, for instance, you see there we go.
Right there.
This account transferred 40 real to that account at 524 GMT. So that's so people can check that, and that's it. It's since
Wow.
that it's on Lobster, as you know very well, Sam. From here you can swap for other assets. You can transfer. You can send you a real if maybe if maybe we buy a beer later, so send you some real.
Yeah, man. Now I'm flying over to Yeah, I'm flying over to Brazil, man. We're gonna get some of that coffee you were talking about.
Right, absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's that fast. That's that fast. That was of course as the question before. That's the on ramp. The off ramp is as fast as, but then you won't be able to see it really reaching my account, right? So
Right.
maybe no purpose showing that. But it's very fast. It's very reliable. It works well, and the cost of that I think was 10,000 of those would be 5 lumens, I think.
Wow.
So it's
Wow.
it's
So-
way below 1 cent. It's way below 1 cent.
So what we're showing right now for those watching is, first of all, Tomas is a bad boy. That I have a feeling that we're gonna see a lot from you over the coming years, man. I really believe that you're gonna be a powerful force. I'm gonna be opening up a magazine and seeing your face on it. But it's amazing right now that in a country that had so much friction of going on and off ramps, that just like that, with the power of Stellar, with the mind of Tomas and his team, nTokens, we're now seeing money move in real time. And as Diego down in Venezuela says, wow. Very
Yeah,
impressive. Very impressive.
That was my reaction when I started looking at Stellar as also. Because, wow. And of course, it helped a lot with no, I had to give many thanks and many wows to SDF, the Stellar Development Foundation, and
Yes.
their team is amazing. So it helped a lot building. There's lines and lines and lines of very good coding to make that happen that fast.
Right.
It's really-
Well, Tomas, it's really been a pleasure having you on. It was a great conversation. We talked about some real issues. We talked about some tech. We talked about Stellar, and you know what? I'm looking forward to to traveling out after this pandemic and go down there and show how hopefully we can find some businesses that are using the nTokens, using Stellar, and we can start to show how lives are being changed. So hang on.
Sure.
I don't want you to go. I want to talk to you a little bit off camera.
Yeah,
but
sure.
to everybody
Sure,
else,
thank you.
yes.
I'm very, very glad to be here, Sam, and thanks for everyone who's watching. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you to everybody that's been chiming in. Shruti, I'm sorry, Ernie, everybody out there, Diego, Jalen, Chandler, everybody that's been out there chatting today. I really appreciate you guys. But other than that, we are out.